I just want you guys to realize I'm sitting inside my house right now, kind of relaxing, and I look over, and my wife is sitting, eating a piece of cake, drinking soda, wrapped up like it's negative 20 degrees outside. Hey, fatty. Look, go to fatty. Bro, this is what I deal with all the time. Like, she thinks it's like negative 20 degrees outside. Look at her. How's that cake? Can I have some? Alright, let's go out in the garage. I don't want to be inside. Bye, babe! So one thing I wanted to go over with you guys today was what I'm going to call the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 2JZ motor. Now, most of you guys know that it's a very sought after motor in my eyes. Now, is it rare? No, to an extent it's not, but it's a very sought after motor and it only came in so many cars made by Toyota. Now, let's go over what I'm going to call the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, let's start with the bad first. This is what we can end on a good note. You know how that goes. Okay, so for the bad. Number one, Toyota doesn't believe in crate motors. So here in the US, we're able to go and buy a LS1, a brand new Coyote motor from Ford. Straight from the dealer, says, I want a brand new motor, ship it to my house, turnkey, ready to go. Okay, sir, here's how much it is, boom, done, sent. Not Toyota, and actually, not really any Japanese company. They really don't believe in crate motors. In their eyes, in their ideology, they think, why would you buy a brand new motor and put it in an old vehicle when you could buy a new car? Why would you waste your money buying a brand new motor for an older vehicle when you could buy a brand new vehicle for a little bit more money? Their idea of working on vehicles and doing things is totally different from us. Is there performance shops in Japan? Yes, but 95% of the people in Japan aren't into that and they don't understand the ideology behind it. Where here in the US, we believe in older cars and restoration. They don't do that. That's not something they do. The closest thing I've seen so far is some of the stuff in the civic community has been recreated by Americans. The Japanese just don't do it. They don't care about their cars in the way we do. And actually, I believe in Japan, after so many years, they start taxing you more for having the vehicle. So the longer you've had it, and I guess you've held on to it, the taxes start to rise on it to actually kind of force you into buying a new vehicle. Now guys, if I'm speaking incorrectly on this, please let me know. That's what I've been told before. It kind of forces you out. That's why you see so many Supras, Aristos, etc. in the junkyard, because it gets to the point that says, well, fuck it. It's easier just to get rid of the car, put it in the junkyard, get it for scrap, and be done with it. That's why you can get turnkey motors everywhere, coilovers, everything. There's literally rows of Supra sitting there where you can get the diffs, the transmissions out of. Now, it's becoming rare, yes, because obviously it's been 15 years now and this car's been around so long, so of course it's been a little bit harder to get the motors, but it's still insane that they just take cars and throw them away and put them in the junkyard. I wish we could get crate motors for this car, but unfortunately you can't, so the problem is with that, number two, the prices of the 2JZ are going up, up, up. With it becoming such a popular swap, we have 240SXs, even domestic cars now, the prices of a non-VVTi motor has gone through the roof. So just so you guys, if you don't know too much about the 2JZ, there's two types of the 2JZ motor. Number one, there is the non-VVTi, which is the variable valve timing ignition motor. It does not have that, which is kind of like, I would say like VTEC, but it's not like VTEC. That's a totally different thing. I'll get into that in another subject someday. And then there's the later model we have it, which is in the 1999 to 2002 model Supra, which was only sold in other countries, never in the US. That is called the VVTi motor, which has variable valve timing and ignition. Now, the non-VVTi motor sells for around $2,500 to $3,000, $2,800. The non-VVTi is sitting pretty steady around $1,700. Now, why is that? Why is a motor that's older selling for more than one that's newer? Well, let me explain that one to you. So the non-VVTi for the longest time was what was sought after. The VVTi was looked at as more complicated, not necessary, something of more of a bother than anything else. Fast forward to 15 years later, now it is the new hot ticket. One, it's cheap, and number two is people are realizing, oh crap, I can use variable valve timing to get a better torque, a better torque core. You'd think I'd be fucking drinking the way I talk here lately. You can get a better torque curve and power band using variable valve timing. So your low end comes in a lot harder and a lot smoother. Boom, perfect. What does every Supra problem have? Lag, lag, lag. Man, when we finally hit boost, that fucker takes off, but down low, it's always been quite an issue. Now, newer turbo technology has really resolved it, but it can be better. So, using a variable valve timing head helps perfect that in a little bit shape, way, or form. It's kind of like the new craze right now. Is it perfect? No, but it actually helps out a shit ton. And for a motor that's $1,700 versus $3,000, almost half the cost, I'm diving into it too. Now, the only issue with it is it does have slightly more wiring, but it's not that much. I believe it's like 6 extra wires, to be honest. It's actually nothing crazy like everyone made it out to be. A lot of shops are doing it now. Jose Valle, Kaiser Motorsports, Sound Performance is doing it, Titan Motorsports, all those guys are now finally taking advantage of it. Now, the motor I have, guys, is a non-variable valve timing motor. Well, see, since I have the head on it here, but I don't have the valve covers for it. I believe there is, I forget what it's even called. There'd be like something right here for the head. Maybe one of you guys know a little bit more about the variable valve timing head. I would have to do the research, but I haven't looked it up. But there's like a module here that helps with, excuse me, the variable valve timing. Now, since mine's not, I do not have that. I bought my motor just before the craze happened, or I just started to hear about it, and I said, you know what, I don't want to deal with it. 1 year later, I'm kicking myself in the ass going, shit, I should have bought a variable valve timing motor, but it is what it is. They never sold them in the US anyway, so it is still kind of nice. Anything I need for this motor, anything I need to do, I go down to AutoZone and I can fucking order it. That's one good thing with this car. The next thing, which I kind of talked about in the last vlog I did, is the discontinuation of parts. Not just for body panels and stuff specific to the Supra, but they also have specific things to the 2JZ. We can no longer get the transmission that is so sought after, the bolt to the 2JZ, which would be the V160. Now, is there other options out there now? Yes, there is. The CD009, T56, TR6060, etc. But it is not the V160 that bolts directly up. Now, this requires modifications when you use those other trans, so that's why I'd rather use the V160, as it's more of a purist thing, and I don't know, it's just me being anal. Do you need to? No, but I think we all would rather have something that bolts directly up and is meant and designed for the car. It works with the rear end, the drive lines are all there, clutches, etc., and it's been known to hold well over 1,000 horsepower, well over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, and hold it all day long. Thirdly here, fourthly, where I'm at right now, cost of parts. So for the 2JZ itself, the cost of parts have really risen over the years. We call it super tax for our cars, but a lot of guys don't even have Supras use them. And here, we'll put in perspective, turbo manifold for the car for a B18, which I understand has 2 less runners, I understand, is around 600 bucks. One for the 2JZ motor, 2,000 bucks. You're almost 3-4 times the amount of money for 2 more runners. Now, I understand the car is rare, but there's a shitload of those motors made. They made them in every sedan out there for the fucking Toyota line across the world. You can go fuck yourself, guys, come on. Now, there is some other manifolds out there that are cheaper now. I've seen them sell for $1,200, $1,300, $1,400, but the quality isn't as nice as, say, like some of the Powerhouse Racing Sound Performance manifolds. So you guys can take that with a grain of salt and make your own decision on that. But there's parts out there that are very expensive just to go specifically for that motor, whether it be cams, which are around $1,000 for nice GSC cams, and depending on rods, pistons, etc. Now, let's talk about the good with this motor. What's great? It can hold a shit ton of power in stock form. So being realistic, and this is where I try to tell people, everyone says, oh yeah bro, make 1,000 horsepower, make 1,000 horsepower. No, go fuck yourself. This motor, what has been seen and done reliably for year after year after year, can hold around 800 horsepower to about 600 foot-pounds of torque. Now, if you're realistic like I am, the horsepower number is not what you're worried about. It's the torque curve and where the torque kicks in at is what I'm worried about. Say you make 500 foot-pounds of torque, but it comes in down low, you're putting more stress on your rods. So it doesn't matter really in my eyes, but just the rule of thumb is 600 foot-pounds of torque, 800 horsepower is about the limit of the motor, and it will run safe at that. Anything over that, you're tiptoeing on your Jordans at that point. That was really corny, I know, guys. Whatever. So yeah, that's where I'm at, saying this motor can hold a shitload of power stock form. Now, there's newer cars out there that are now doing the same thing, but this motor was doing it back in 1993. This motor, guys, is over 25 years old. Actually, it's older than that because I think the first ones came out in 1990, or was it 91? So this motor's been out for quite some time and been doing this for 25, 30 years, with their domestic guys using more pistons and everything else are finally catching up. One of my other good talking points of the motor is ease to work on. Everything is so easy to work on it. Everything is metric and uses either 10, 12, or 14 for the most part. Now, the crank bolt, I believe, is a 22 millimeter bolt, and there's some random 17 millimeters here and there, but for the most part, a 10, a 12, and a 14 rip that whole fucking motor apart, which is badass, makes my life super easy, and anytime I need to work on it. On top of that, it being an inline 6, everything's on the side. It's so easy to get a hold of. Like, even the timing belt and everything, it's just right here. Everything is so accessible. The way it was laid out is so nice. Now the only downside I could even give it and knock it is it's kind of hard to get the injectors. You do have to take that top runner off the intake manifold, but that's still just me being nitpicky. A lot of cars, a lot of factory vehicles are that way, so I can't really bitch. But everything else is just super easy to get to, and I can't really complain. Last talking point I'll have on this, and I'll be done for the day: reliability. I put that motor in and ran the piss out of it and fucking revved it and anti-lagged it and did burnouts over and over and over. And not once did it hiccup, have a problem, have any issues. I tear it all down, no detonation problems, nothing. The motors can just take a fucking thrashing all day long and not give a fuck in the world. It's amazing how well built these motors were. Building a forged bottom end really helps that with the forged crank. It just takes to every little bit of beating you want to put towards it. And also being a cast iron block doesn't hurt either. Now obviously the aluminum blocks with sleeves and stuff in them now hold quite an amount of power too, but cast iron you can't really beat it. A lot of guys are making 1600 horsepower on a stock cast iron block and a stock crank on top of that. That's fucking impressive. But yeah, this motor is pretty stout in my opinion and very reliable. So that's my thought process on the 2JZ, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I think it's a great motor. I feel fortunate I got to work on this first. It's kind of discerning though at times when I have to work on other friends' cars and they're not so easy to work on. I've worked on an F-body before and fuck those cars. God damn, everything, it's like half Mexican made, half American made, half Canadian, half Taiwanese. There's fucking bolts that are metric, you have stars. There's so much shit going on. I hate it. Like Toyota, just when they build a vehicle, for the most part, don't get me wrong, they have some Mexican cars that are a little sketchy at best. But for the most part, cars like this that are built in Japan are flawless, and they took their time and they were very well built. That's when I would say Toyota was at its pinnacle in the 90s and they were building the best of the vehicles. Are they doing that so much anymore? I'll let you guys be the judge of that. It is what it is, and I love this car and I love that motor.